Yeah, yeah. Ball so hard, you better believe me, it's scary. It's basketball at the bar with Calvin and Barry. So put a tip in the jar, cause these dudes can really fill it up. Whether it's buckets you need or just a beer in a cup. We're here for fresh conversations and some delicious libations. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. My boys got you covered like you being guarded by Peyton. From the glove to the claw and everyone else in between. Calvin and Barry got everything that you need. So sit back, relax, because we're starting the show. It's basketball at the bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. Yeah. Grab a drink and let's go. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Calvin and Barry. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Let's get it.
What up, ballers? Welcome to Basketball at the Bar. Join us live every weekday for the best NBA podcast here on YouTube, where the takes are hot and the drinks are cold. There's no dress code, and you can take us wherever you go. So pull up a stool, drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe. This is Basketball at the Bar. Grab your drinks, and let's go, Calvin.
Let's go. It was a busy weekend. We got a lot to talk about. Not surprising to see Mike is first in the comments here. Congratulations, Mike. Your Mavs are back in it.
Yes, it was a very busy weekend. Kings got their guy, you're right. Some NBA teams made Calvin and I look like fools with our predictions. But hey, I hope you guys don't have a case of the Mondays, because we got a ton to talk about on today's show. So let's do it. We're going to talk about some injury updates to Morant, the weird injury to him, and whether it was breaking the code or not. We're going to talk about the return of Joel Embiid. Karl makes a guest appearance in the headlines talking about NBA doping. Jokic wins the MVP award. Chris Paul gets into it, or his family gets into it with some fans in Dallas. Monty Williams wins Coach of the Year. And we recap all the games from the weekend and give a preview of today's games before we finish the show, as always, with Q&A.
Full slate today.
There is a lot of stuff.
Full slate.
Also, hope you guys are digging the new banner we have here on the bottom. We just spent all morning working on that. I want to hear your opinions, because it's important what you guys feel, what you guys like, and we want to make it very informative and very appeasing and good looking as well. All right, Calvin. So first off, you want to give us a couple injury updates?
Yeah, well, Phoenix is breaking news here. I didn't have this one on the list, but apparently Robert Williams is out for Game 4 today.
Dude, did you see that elbow he took to the head? Oh my God.
It was rough.
God.
Yeah. All these series have gotten incredibly physical over the past couple of games.
Playoff basketball.
It's playoff basketball. Morant, there's no official injury update on him other than he's doubtful for the game. He didn't participate in shoot-around. Doesn't look like he's going to play tonight in Game 4. There is no official prognosis on his knee. Taylor Jenkins, head coach of the Grizzlies, is calling it knee soreness right now. I think they're probably trying to play this a little close to the vest. They don't want to give away too much information, but it is very unlikely that he will suit up for Game 4.
What'd you think of that play?
I'm really not sure what to think of it. I've watched it a ton of times over and over again. The first few times I watched it, I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
The more I watch it, which probably isn't helping, because the more you watch something in slow motion, the more you can make yourself see something that might not really be there. I don't think that it is the same as the Dillon Brooks play, but I'm really confused as to what Jordan Poole was doing in that moment.
I mean, he was reaching for the ball, it looked like, but
Yes.
then the grab and yank afterwards is the part where I'm like, okay, you wouldn't grab a ball like that and yank it.
Well, you would try to swipe a ball like that.
I mean, that's more of a swiping than I don't know.
It's really weird. I don't know. I mean, in real time, for Jordan Poole to actually think I'm going to grab his knee and pull it, that seems kind of not realistic to me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look great. I don't know. I'm really not so sure what to make of it.
Yeah, it's an interesting play. I think Jordan Poole's the only one in the world that's actually going to know what he was trying to do. But, I mean, the dude hasn't really been a dirty player or made dirty plays in the past that I've seen. I do have to say, though, it's pretty interesting when you look at the history of the Warriors and you have the Zaza Pachulia thing with Kawhi Leonard. Yeah. You have the other issues with Draymond Green and just injuring players in the past. It looks a little strange. That being said, I don't think it was intentional. I think he was going for the ball. But you're right. When you watch something multiple times in slow motion, you just start to think, okay, right. You're like breaking down every little aspect of it.
Yeah. And I mean, so many people have weighed in on this. My dad actually told me there's a doctor on YouTube who specializes in knee and lower leg injuries in general. He apparently put out I haven't watched it, but he apparently put out a video describing how it was impossible for Jordan Poole to cause a severe ligament damage to Ja Morant's knee with that one move. I mean, take that as you will. It doesn't necessarily mean that he wasn't intentionally trying to grab his knee, but it's just stating that it's unlikely that what he did could have caused serious injury to his knee. So I don't know what to make of this. This series, because of everything that's already happened in the previous games, any minute thing like this, which it's not a minute thing, Ja Morant missing a game is a huge deal for the Grizzlies, but any instance like this involving any players for the rest of this series is going to get blown way out of proportion now.
Yeah, so when I look at situations like this, one of the things I really try and do is I try and say, okay, well, if this was Steph Curry and this was a player on the Grizzlies, what would they be saying? Would Draymond Green be upset? Would the Warriors be upset?
Well, of course they would.
Were they saying that they were trying to hurt him? I'm not sure. I mean, I think they would be upset. So maybe they can look themselves in the mirror and say, I understand why Ja Morant's upset. But bottom line, the Grizzlies got killed in this game. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. It was an interesting play. And unfortunate for Ja Morant, but in good news, as you were saying, a doctor says that it couldn't have created extreme damage. So also good news for Ja Morant.
Hopefully. I mean, we'll see what the actual prognosis is on him, but we'll see.
Yes. Next up, Joel Embiid makes his return with the mask on. We actually see him get hit in the face in one of these games with the mask on, which is very scary. He looked like he was in a ton of pain, but he's been playing well. 18 and 11 in Friday's game, 24 and 11 in Sunday's game. They win both games here by almost a combined 30-plus points. What are your thoughts on Joel Embiid returning? Did he look healthy to you?
I mean, he doesn't look 100% to me, and maybe some of that is physical and, having to adjust to playing with a mask, things like that. They also said he couldn't really do anything for like 6 days. He was just sitting in a dark room. Mm-hmm. So, you're not getting shots up, you're not running up and down. I forgot all about the thumb injury also. Right. So, to me, I was like, well, he comes back. He's as long as he can play through the pain in the face, he should be fine. But he's still dealing with a torn ligament in his thumb on his shooting hand. So that's going to affect his shot as well.
What a beast.
All in all, though, I mean, he has done so much to reverse every type of stereotype or preconceived notions of him not being able to play through injuries in the past, just in this 1 year. Like, he's done really everything that he possibly can. So you have to give him a lot of credit. And as far as it goes on the court, he's been good. He hasn't been what we have become accustomed to seeing from him as of late, especially this season. But just having him on the court, you can see how much it helps everybody else. I mean, all of a sudden, Danny Green remembers how to shoot. James Harden can score now. So these guys are getting opportunities, and it's helping a lot on defense as well, for sure.
He makes a huge difference for that team. He really does. And, yeah, it's funny. You forget about the thumb injury and all this stuff, too. But good to see Embiid back on the court. Many Sixers fans, I know, are ecstatic. And, hey, it's a tied series. We'll talk about that here in a little bit as well. Also want to give an update on Kyle Lowry. We saw him with the hamstring injury. It seemed to be affecting him quite a lot in that game. Any thoughts?
He really does not look good at all out there. I mean, he's really struggled shooting. He's turned the ball over a lot. I think he has 5 turnovers and 6 points in the 2 games he played in Philadelphia. If I was Miami, I don't know. I would really consider starting Gabe Vincent again over him right now until I know that he's 100% healthy, because he is not helping them more than he's hurting them at this point.
Yeah, and they lost these games, right? So it's like, take a break, man. They probably don't need you for this series, but losing the past 2 has definitely got to be infuriating for the Miami Heat, because they look like they were rolling through this series up to both of these series.
Jimmy Butler's the only guy that made the trip to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Other than that, nobody showed up for Miami. So,
yeah, we know Pat Riley is not happy. I also want to give a shout out to the Lakers show on HBO. Watched the new episode last night. They won the championship. Not that I like that, but it's interesting to watch, and it's cool because Pat Riley is finally becoming Pat Riley in the show, which is a lot of fun. All right, next up in the news, George Karl. Interesting article written about George Karl, stating that the NBA has a doping problem, and a lot of NBA players, top NBA players, have issues with performance-enhancing drugs. He said that the testing systems are there, but they're not advanced enough, and the cheater or whoever's abusing these things is always one step ahead technology-wise. He goes in to talk about, why NBA players, including the late, great Kobe Bryant, head to countries like Germany in the offseason to do knee rehab and take, medications and things that are not approved in the United States. Calvin, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, this is a tough subject to talk about, first of all, because we know in professional sports that this stuff happens. It's just a question of how much does it happen and who gets caught and who doesn't. I think most people kind of believe that basketball is one of those sports where you would expect to see the least amount of this stuff. But he makes a couple good points in his statements, which he's got this book coming out, right?
Yep.
Where I guess he's going to burn every single bridge that he's ever had in the NBA, because he slaughters everyone in this book, former players, coaches, all of it. So, but he does, bring up a couple good points. Guys are able to play longer now at a higher level than they've ever been before. Some people would attest that to just the human genetics and evolving over time, becoming better athletes. But there's also things that can help with that stuff, prolonging careers and recovering from injuries faster. All of that is true. My question is, where is the proof? This just looks like an angry old man who's trying to kill everybody out there.
Like Mike says.
He hasn't coached in the league since 2015, 2016 with the Kings.
Did not go well.
Did not go well. Ever since then, I feel like he just is upset that people don't appreciate him, so he's trying to get back at all these people. Saying Kobe Bryant did it because he went to Germany and had this plasma treatment or whatever. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like that, it was very obvious what he was going there for. Mm-hmm. That procedure is not an illegal procedure.
Not in Germany.
But the NBA never really said it was illegal either. Otherwise, they would have, done something about it. So I just don't really see. I'd like to see more proof here. To me, this just sounds like somebody who's pissed off and is trying to make himself relevant again.
Yeah. D. Wade's done the same thing. Dwight Howard's also done it. Darren Williams has done it, and many, many others. It kind of brings you into a really tough subject, right? When I always talk about doping or PEDs in sports, I always think about baseball, right? Because baseball was the one with the biggest controversy. And, you go back to look at a lot of these guys that were suspended or banned or had all these issues. They were doing steroids before they were technically illegal to do in baseball.
Yeah.
But they still suffered the consequences. And then, as far as in different countries, there are different rules. Like we were in the Caribbean a few years ago, and we were at a bar, and the bartender's pouring drinks out, and there's like 17-year-olds with their mouths open getting alcohol. That would never happen in the United States, but because we were in another country, it was okay or allowed. It's a really tricky subject here. We see what just happened to DeAndre Hopkins this last week, getting suspended for PEDs in football. I don't really know what to think here. I agree with you in the fact that George Karl seems angry and mad, but at the same time, the dude has nothing to lose at this point. So if anybody's going to blow the whistle, it's going to be somebody that probably doesn't have anything to lose. So I'm very, very mixed on this subject.
Yeah, I'm mixed on it too, because I think it's naive to think that it doesn't happen at all.
Yeah.
But the question is, how much does it happen, and what type, what things are these guys actually doing? That's another question, right? Like, we should be looking into whether or not this is really considered cheating, or if it's just some stuff that these guys are taking are a direct result of advancements in modern medicine, and they should be able to use that.
Which we've been hearing, right? Guys are playing longer. Oh, wow. A guy's survived, his career survived an Achilles injury. It survived all these injuries because of the advancements in modern science. How many of those are allowed?
Right.
And are like getting you back to par versus the ones that are considered cheating, which is allowing your body to go above and beyond what it should be capable of. Yeah. A very, very thin line there.
Incredibly thin.
Mike wants to know if we're doing an ESPYs episode.
I hadn't even, that thought had not crossed my mind at all, but I like the idea.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get Will Smith in here to slap somebody on stage or something.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Chris Paul. A bad weekend for Chris Paul. After his birthday, the dude is looking old now. Lost two games
he needs
here.
some HGH or something.
Right, he's got to go to Germany or something. His wife and his mother get into it with Dallas Mavericks fans after the loss. Calvin, what the hell is going on here?
I do not know. This was a very weird incident. I just want to read a tweet here from Tim McMahon, who covers the NBA for ESPN. He says, American Airlines Center and Dallas Mavericks security and executives have conducted an investigation into the incident involving Paul's family. Two unruly fans attempted to give unwanted hugs and have conversations with members of the Paul family on the public concourse at American Airlines Center. Security responded immediately. They were once notified by the family, and the fans were swiftly ejected from the game. The fans involved in the incident will not be allowed to return to the arena until 2023. And then there's
Call security. They're giving unwanted hugs.
There's also this from Hoop Central. Chris Paul reportedly led teammates into the Mavericks locker room through a secret tunnel. Where have we heard this before?
We've heard this before.
In order to fight Luka Doncic after the game. I don't know if I believe that second one, but this was a really, really weird incident. I mean, clearly, this kid, he looks like a kid to me, did something that he probably shouldn't have done.
Unwanted hug.
And I think Chris Paul may have done something that he shouldn't have done either when he says to the kid, I'll see you later, as he's leaving the stadium.
Yeah.
I totally understand where Chris Paul is coming from. If my family was there and they were being, heckled or physically assaulted, something like that, I would definitely be upset and want something done about it. It seems very weird. First of all, it's a kid. He's trying to give hug. I don't know. His mom is with him. The whole thing is really, really bizarre.
I mean, we just saw a couple games ago Luka Doncic getting into it with the Phoenix fans.
Yeah.
And everything was okay. And now it happens to Chris Paul, and it blows up into a huge situation. That's interesting that you mentioned the secret door to the locker room, because I don't know what the hell this has to do with Luka Doncic at all.
I don't know what it has to do with him either.
But we've heard this before with the Clippers. Chris Paul, as much as I like the guy, the dude gets away with a lot of shit. He really does.
He seems to, I guess. I don't know. But yeah,
it's
this series is now taking a really wild twist. We don't really or probably aren't going to talk about it too much, but that Devin Booker technical foul is one of the strangest technical fouls I've ever seen assessed in my life. I still cannot wrap my head around that one, but
it's getting interesting, guys.
It's getting ridiculous, man.
It's getting ridiculous out here, man. A lot of Mavs fans were yelling angrily at the kid for like 5 minutes. He did something that upset as many people. Also was his aunt, not his mom.
Well, okay. Family member.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that really makes a difference whether it's his mom or his aunt.
Crazy situation, guys. It's, we all look up to these players. They're millionaires. They have these great lives, but they deal with a lot of bullshit too.
Yeah.
And, it's got to feel unfortunate to every time you want to go somewhere have to have security or someone there to protect you and have your back, and now it's spilling off into his family members, which is rough. Chris Paul, you got to splurge on a box, man. Get these guys out of the public eye. Get them a personal seat so they're a little bit away from you, not distracting you, and they're comfortable and they have a great environment to watch the game. That's what I'd be doing. Still have the Suns winning the series?
Yes,
I do. We'll see here. All right, you want to give an update on the MVP race?
Yeah, it was announced. Nikola Jokic officially wins back-to-back MVPs. He becomes the 15th player in NBA history to win multiple MVPs. Giannis finishes second. Joel Embiid finishing third in the race. Barry, did they get this right?
Oh, let's see here. I'm pulling up the stats again. So Jokic this season, 27.1 points per game, 13.8 rebounds, 7.9 assists, 1.5 steals, and almost a block per game. Incredible year for him. The stats are much better than last season. I mean, points is about 0.7, but the rebounds, 3 rebounds a game, assists is right about there. He improved the steals. Great season for him. 3-point shooting is down a little bit. Field goal percentage is up.
Career high in field goal percentage, I believe.
I think they did get this right, but I'm surprised that Embiid wasn't number 2 in voting.
That's exactly how I feel. I mean,
no shade to Giannis.
Totally would have been okay with Embiid winning this year. I think he's more than deserving. Looking at the total package of everything, Jokic had got far less help from his team this year than Embiid did, which is kind of crazy to think about because Ben Simmons didn't play in a game. I realize the Eastern Conference is tougher, but Jokic dragged that team to the playoffs single-handedly. The numbers speak for themselves. Like it's a regular season award. I don't see how you can disagree with what Jokic's numbers were. Embiid has a great case for it as well. I totally agree with you, though. Embiid should have definitely finished second and Giannis third.
Yeah, people in the chat are talking about games played. Embiid played 68 games this season, and Jokic played 74, so pretty close there. No shade to Giannis, but that's the thing about being a great player and being consistently great. We've seen it with LeBron James where it's like, why doesn't the dude have more MVP awards? Why doesn't Kobe have more MVP awards?
Yeah.
You get so used to what this guy does on a daily basis that you're not even really impressed anymore. But great seasons by all 3 of these players. Happy to see Jokic win another MVP. Happy to see a center win MVP. It's always exciting when that happens.
And an international player has now won the last 4 MVP awards.
Yeah, shout out to Serbia. All right, next up, Monty Williams wins Coach of the Year. He leads the Phoenix Suns to the best record in the NBA. Kings could have hired this guy, Calvin. Just throwing that out there.
They could have.
What are your thoughts on this this award and him winning it?
Much deserved. I don't see how you can really argue with this one. They were the best team record-wise and performance-wise throughout the course of the entire season. It's the highest winning percentage for the franchise in team history. He's done an incredible job with this group. I mean, yes, getting Chris Paul obviously helps, but I think the confidence that he instilled in this team during that bubble run, they clearly love playing for him. And sure, there's just like the MVP award, there's probably a couple of other coaches that you could make a good case for, Eric Spoelstra being one of them, Ime Udoka from Boston well.
Great season.
But, I don't see how you argue with Monty Williams being coach of the year.
Is Doc Rivers on this list?
He wouldn't be in my top 3 or 4, I would say.
Okay. What about Mike Malone? I'm just talking about teams that dealt with a lot of adversity, drama, injuries.
I mean, you could make cases for probably half of all the teams that made the playoffs. The Grizzlies being one of them. They had, one of the better years in franchise history as well. They finished second in the Western Conference. But Mike Budenholzer, you can make cases for a lot of these guys, but I think this is the right answer here.
Okay. All right. Congratulations, Monty Williams. Much deserved Coach of the Year. We'll see if this turns into an NBA championship, and we've also seen some guys get fired after winning Coach of the Year.
I don't think he's in jeopardy of losing his job. Not that I think that will happen here,
right, but also want to give a shout-out here. The Kings just hired a former Coach of the Year in Mike Brown. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I know a lot of people in here are fans of the Royal Rebounds podcast, and we will be doing a more in-depth conversation on this move on Royal Rebounds later. But so I won't get too technical or too far into it. But I think that the biggest takeaway I have from this move is that there seems to be cohesion and togetherness within the ownership group in the front office. They were able to come to a mutual decision, even though both groups liked different candidates. And it is important because it shows that they're giving the power here to Monty McNair. This is his team to run. This is the guy he wanted. And those are positive things, I think, to take away.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Great move by the Kings. Happy to see that Monty was given this decision. He signed him to a 4-year deal. I hope Monty's contract gets extended to align with this contract. I love a defensive-minded head coach. I think he's going to help the Kings a lot. Excited for the season. All right, Calvin, I think it's time here to recap the weekend. And we got a ton of games to go over. So I kind of broke it down here into 4 separate series. We have the Suns versus the Mavs, the Heat versus the Sixers, Celtics versus the Bucks, and the Grizzlies versus the Warriors. These are basically everybody that's left here in the playoffs. We saw 2 of these series only play a game, and the other 2 series played 2 games. So first, let's talk about Miami at Philadelphia. We saw Kyle Lowry, laboring in this game. Lots of pain in his eyes due to the hamstring injury. We saw Joel Embiid come back. They win both of these games, but let's talk about Fridays first. So Philadelphia wins 99-79 in Philly, a 20-point victory. Danny Green gets his stroke back, leads the team with 21 points, 18 and 11 for Joel Embiid, and Jimmy Butler, 33 points, 14 off the bench for Tyler Hero, and basically nobody else scored for Miami.
Yeah, like we said earlier, Jimmy Butler in both games in Philadelphia was really the only guy to show up. He scored 73 points in those 2 games combined.
Holy cow.
Miami only scored 79 as a team in Game 3. This series comes down to, obviously, Joel Embiid is back, and that is a huge bump up for the 76ers. It affects everything they do, offensively, defensively. Danny Green, we talked about Philadelphia needing that 3rd or 4th guy to really step up, find the stroke from outside. Danny Green went 10 of 13 from 3 in games 3 and 4 combined. The Sixers made 32 threes in both of those games as well, and Miami, their shooting fell off of a cliff. They were the best three-point shooting team in the league all year long, 14 for 65 from 3 in games 3 and 4 for Miami. Ton of turnovers as well. So it's Philadelphia definitely used that home court advantage and getting the boost from Joel Embiid playing again. James Harden showed up, Danny Green showed up, and Miami, they just can't shoot from outside right now. Embiid does make a huge difference defensively, but he's not really guarding guys on the three-point line. So Philadelphia, I think, played better team defense in these two games, and Miami, they're just struggling to shoot. It's a total role reversal of the first two games.
Yeah, Philadelphia fans are ecstatic. They're back in the series. Calvin and I called it on Friday. We're like, we're not even interested really in these series because they're both going to be over. We picked both of these teams in Miami and in Phoenix to head to the finals. Or I actually picked Miami. Calvin picked the Bucks. But Tobias Harris, only 9 points in this game, 4 of 13 from the field, but he had 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals. He fouled out in this game. He's been more of a facilitator, getting guys involved. Danny Green, for me, is one of the major differences other
absolutely.
than Embiid returning. Danny Green, this dude's got 3 NBA championships with 3 different teams, and that's, with the Raptors, the Spurs, and the Lakers. He is a champion, and he stepped it up. 7 of 9 from three-point range in this game. And then we also got to give it to Tyrese Maxey, 21 points in this game.
He's played very well as well.
And James Harden has stepped it up, maybe not scoring-wise, 1 of 7 from three-point range in this game, only 17 points, but 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Unfortunately,
did have his first 30-point game of the postseason
Correct.
in Game 4, though.
Correct. They're just looking like a completely different team out there. You mentioned Sunday's game. Let's talk about Sunday's game too, and then we'll go back, as far as Friday, because I think it's a little easier here if we just break it down by series instead of bouncing all around here. So Sunday's game, Philadelphia wins 116-108, 31 points for James Harden, 40 points for Jimmy Butler. He did not want to let his team lose in this game, but unfortunately they did. 21 for Bam Adebayo, 15 for Victor Oladipo off the bench, and only 11 points for Tyler Hero. The Philadelphia starters played incredible. All 5 starters in double figures. Not much bench production, but they didn't need it in this game. As you mentioned, first 30-point game for James Harden here in the playoffs. Tobias Harris, 13 points, 11 for Danny Green, 24 and 11 for Joel Embiid, and 18 for Tyrese Maxey. They're happy to be going back to Miami tied 2-2.
You're damn right they are. No, these games Philadelphia completely took control of. Even Game 3, Philadelphia didn't really break things open until late, and that game was real ugly for the first kind of 75% or 3/4 of it, which I thought, okay, this is Jimmy Butler's game. Like it just seemed like a total Jimmy Butler style game where nothing's really going the way that either team wants it to go, but this guy's just going to will his team to victory. It did not happen. He did everything he could in both games 3 and 4, but yeah, he just had zero help, and it just goes to show for Philadelphia, when your 2 best players play well, like they did in Game 4, Embiid and Harden, it makes things so much easier for everybody else.
Yep.
If Harden's knocking down threes, he's getting to the foul line. He attempted 10 free throws in this game. I think that's a high for the series for him. How many did he have in Game 3? 8. So, yeah, I think that's the most he's attempted in any game in this series. That completely changes what Philadelphia looks like offensively. Now, not only do you have to double Embiid most of the time when he gets the ball, you have to worry about James Harden as well and probably send another defender to help on him. Mm-hmm. So, again, guys like Danny Green are going to get wide open looks from outside, and if they knock him down, Philadelphia can be a really, really tough team to beat.
Yeah, they are a completely different squad with Joel Embiid on the court. It's getting exciting, Calvin. I'm not going to lie. I was wrong. I thought
dead wrong.
Miami was just gonna like steamroll through this team. Philadelphia is proven they don't want to go home without a fight. So Game 5 will be exciting. We got a bunch of exciting matchups here, Cal.
We got some series.
All right, let's go into The second series on Friday, they played both Friday and Sunday, and that is Phoenix at Dallas. Dallas wins both of these games. Shout out to Mike Monticello here in the chat. First game, Dallas wins 103-94. Jalen Brunson, I'm not going to pat myself on the back here, but I said this guy needed to get involved more. People were questioning me in the chat. How does he get involved without the ball in his hands? They figured it out. They got this guy the ball. He led the team with 28 points in this game. Dallas seems to be playing better defense, and Phoenix just seems to be kind of off their game here or lost a little bit in Dallas.
Yeah, turnovers are the story here for me when it comes to Phoenix. They committed 34 turnovers combined in games 3 and 4. That's 17 per game. Chris Paul and Devin Booker in these games 3 and 4, I think, combined for 17 turnovers between the two of them. That's where they're really struggling. They're not putting the ball in the basket because Dallas's pressure is forcing them into turnovers. And Chris Paul, the dude he seems like he can score whenever he wants to.
Yeah.
But I think he needs to want to score more. I think he's got to come out more aggressive and looking to score right away from the beginning of the game, because they need, Ayton has kind of dropped off a little bit. I'm still not really sure why they don't feed him the ball every single time inside. Booker has played pretty well. He had 35 in game 4, but they need that third guy, that third scoring option. And to me, that's got to be Chris Paul first. I mean, obviously you love to get nights like the one Jay Crowder had in game 3, 5 of 8 from 3, 19 points. That really, really helps. But Phoenix needs their 3 horses to really, really come out strong.
Yeah, and all 5 starters in double figures in this game. You mentioned Jay Crowder, 19 points. Bridges, 12 points. Ayton, 16 and 11. Only 12 points for Chris Paul and only 18 for Devin Booker. Basically no bench production. I think this team had 17 points total off the bench between 3 different guys. Just a completely different game and a completely different series. Dorian Finney-Smith has been back. He's been shooting well. 14 points in this game, 4 3-pointers. Reggie Bullock, 15 points, has also been shooting well. Jalen Brunson, as I mentioned, 28 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal. And I didn't even talk about Luka Doncic. 26 points.
This is just
13 rebounds.
Status quo for him at this
9
point.
assists, 2 steals, 5 turnovers in this game, and he was in foul trouble. But there's a reason Chris Paul is trying to fight him in the locker room after the game, and that's because he absolutely went to work against these Phoenix Suns. It's a series, Cal.
It's a series for sure. Again, it's turnovers for Phoenix. They didn't shoot incredibly well in either game. They were over 40%, I think, from 3 in game 3. Yeah, 46%. But the Mavericks it's raining threes in Dallas. They made 20 of them in game 4, and that combined with the stepping up the defensive pressure and forcing Phoenix into a ton of turnovers, that's what swung the series in the direction of the Dallas Mavericks here.
Yeah, Sunday's game, Dallas wins in Dallas again, 111-101. Very similar story here. Not too much bench production for the Phoenix Suns. Only 6 points for Bridges and 5 points for Chris Paul as he fouls out in 23 minutes in this game. 35 big points for Devin Booker, 14 for Ayton, 15 for Crowder. But the Mavs do it again. Another huge game. This is probably the biggest game of Finney-Smith's career.
Probably.
8 of 12 from three-point range. He was one short of setting a new Mavs record for three-pointers. 24 points for him, 8 rebounds and assists, a steal, no turnovers, 18 for Jalen Brunson. And Luka Doncic, 26 again, 7 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 steals. And they got some bench production by guys like Bertans, 9-finger Bertans.
9.5.
Maxi Kleber, 11 points and 10 points for Spencer Dinwiddie. I don't really know what else to say here, Calvin, other than the fact that I was wrong and Dallas is making some shots here.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they're making a ton of shots. I mean, you look at these guys, the role players for the Mavericks. Finney Smith, 13 field goals attempted, 12 of them were threes. Reggie Bullock, 6 field goals attempted, 5 of them were threes. Even Luka, 25 field goal attempts, 10 of them are threes. Kleber, 7 to 3. Bertans, all 6 of his field goal attempts were 3-point shots. Dallas is the epitome of a team that lives and dies by the 3. If they're going to knock down 20 3-point shots in a game, they've got a really good chance to win most nights.
So we both have Phoenix in 5 games, so that's blown up. And we both have, or actually I have Miami in 6 games here. You have Miami in 7. So that series kind of going as planned, but this Phoenix series has taken a turn for the worst for the Phoenix Suns. We'll see what's going on with Chris Paul, whether there's any repercussions for him trying to go through secret passageways to fight people, what's going on with him emotionally, physically. I think this is like, his second playoff game he's ever fouled out of in his career.
Something like that. He hasn't fouled out of many.
That's pretty wild. But I also know that Chris Paul is a competitor. He's one of the greatest point guards of all time. He will find a way to bounce back. He's looking a little old after his birthday, Calvin.
Yeah, he is. But I agree with you. I think, going back home to Phoenix, he's upset. His family is now being compromised by the Dallas Maverick fans. I would bet money on Chris Paul having a big Game 5.
Yeah. So are you taking Phoenix in Game 5?
Yeah, I'll take them to win at home.
And what about Miami? Are you taking them in Game 5?
Man, I don't know. I have Miami winning the series, so, I mean, of course, I feel like I have to pick them. But that series, I think, has really, really changed a ton. I mean, both of these series have, obviously, going from up 2-0 to both being tied 2-2. But, the Embiid, the fact that Embiid didn't play in games 1 and 2, and now he's returned, I think that changes that series a lot more than 2 fully healthy Phoenix Suns and Dallas Mavericks squads going at each other. Yeah. That both held home court.
Yeah, awesome basketball to watch this weekend. We will dive a little bit deeper into those 2 series tomorrow. We'll give previews of Game 5 of both of those series. It's exciting, and shout out to Mike here, staying true to his team. Mavericks fan. And congratulations on getting 2 wins and evening up the series here. All right, Calvin, let's talk about Saturday's games. We also have these games happening again today here in about an hour or so. So let's break down Saturday. First off, Boston heads to Milwaukee, and they lose 103-101. Giannis has a huge game, 42 points for him, showing why he was second in the MVP voting this year. 13 points for Brook Lopez, 10 rebounds. Drew Holiday makes an appearance, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, a block. The dude has been playing incredible defense. Grayson Allen starts in this game, gives you an offer, 0 points, but he does contribute with 4 rebounds and 4 assists and a couple intentional fouls. 11 points off the bench by Pat Connaughton. This team, outside of Giannis and Holiday, didn't play incredibly well, but they were able to sneak out a victory here. It was another physical game. We saw a lot of interesting fouls in this game. If your last name was Williams, you got hit a ton in this game. We saw calls that maybe should have been charge calls. We saw one of them getting elbowed in the face. A really, really physical game for them. 22 points for Al Horford, 16 rebounds, one of his best games here offensively.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
27 points for Jaylen Brown, only 10 points for Jason Tatum, 4 of 19 from the field. Disappointing output from him. But Calvin, what do you think of this game?
Like you said, very, very physical. Both of these teams are really bruising teams that play physical style of defense. It was like we talked about after game 2, is Boston going to be that hot from 3 again? Probably not is the answer. And as a result, they only score 101 points. Wild finish at the end with that 3 or 4 tips.
Oh, yeah.
Almost converting it at the end there to force overtime. But Giannis was every bit as good as he could possibly be in this game, and he pretty much willed them to a victory down the stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, great players doing great things. That's what they do. You and I were looking for Jason Tatum to step up a little bit more here as we get closer to the finals. Unfortunately, not a great game for him, but it's always tough playing against a guy as big as Giannis.
Yeah,
I think
they were really physical with him. They made it really, really tough on him. Jaylen Brown has had 2 excellent games in a row for Boston. But, yeah, just like we were saying with Phoenix, how they need their stars to play big.
Yep.
I mean, everybody does at this point in the year, you know. Same goes for Boston. Jason Tatum's got to be Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think they will definitely, watch some game film, figure out a way to work this out. Milwaukee is a great team. They're the reigning champs, right? Yeah. But they won 51 games in the regular season. So did the Boston Celtics. Both of these teams have a ton of talent, and it's some exciting
and
basketball.
Let's be real, Boston didn't get blown out in this game. They definitely had chances to win there at the end. So it's still a very even series, in my opinion.
Yeah, they had like 4 or 5 tip-in chances there at the end, which is incredible. Anything else you want to mention on this game before we move on here?
These series are all now really, really exciting. I mean, we'll see what happens with Memphis and Golden State tonight. If the Warriors have another blowout win in them, I mean, with Ja Morant not playing, clearly that is not looking good. But these other 3 series are looking like any team can win at this point.
Yes. So the second game on Saturday, Memphis heads to Golden State. They were up at halftime, I think by like 2 in this game. Then they end up getting completely blown out in the second half of this game. Golden State wins 142-112. This is the highest scoring game we've seen here in the playoffs. A huge offensive output by the Golden State Warriors. I also want to say here, Klay Thompson did not score 23.5 points in this game. Only 21.
Thanks to the Memphis Grizzlies not making this competitive.
Only 21 points for him, but 8 of 13 from the field, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Great game for him. Steph Curry, 30 points in this game, 17 for Andrew Wiggins. Kuminga started in this game, 18 points for him.
Yeah, he was huge for them.
13 off the bench, Otto Porter, and Jordan Poole. 27 points off the bench and an injured knee for Ja Morant. Incredible game for him. Speaking of Ja Morant, 34 points in this game, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals. The dude was like, did you see that dunk he had in the game where he just elevated from like the free throw line and it looked like he was going to start coming down and then he just kept going?
Yeah, he seems like he can fly. I mean, he's like, watching him jump is like watching Michael Jordan jump.
It's incredible.
Those guys,
he's
the
got
hang
a double
time
jump.
is ridiculous.
He's got a double jump. 15 points for Jaren Jackson Jr. in this game. Only 3 rebounds for him. No blocks, something we've become accustomed to. Desmond Bane, 16 points in this game. 12 points for Melton. Steven Adams makes a small appearance with 3 points and 2 rebounds. The most important thing about this game is Ja Morant leaves with a knee injury, and the Grizzlies end up getting blown out. So, Calvin, thoughts on the game?
Well, this game, my thoughts on this game are the same as the series. Before Game 3, we talked about how the series may have been tied 1-1, but Golden State is outplaying Memphis in this series, and that is continuing. They're out-rebounding them. They're killing them in the paint. Another 60-point game in the paint for the Warriors. Those are 2 things that the Grizzlies were the best in the NBA at all season long. So Golden State is beating them at their own game right now. It's basically a question of how many threes is each team going to make, and how great can Ja Morant be in the fourth quarter. His numbers in this series are absolutely jaw-dropping. I mean, he's averaging like 38.5 points per game for Memphis in this series. So yes, they played well without him during the regular season. They were 20-5 without Morant this year. Everybody was very, very surprised about that. To win against a Warriors team in the playoffs without Ja Morant is going to be a whole nother story. So they definitely need Desmond Bane to play huge tonight. They need Jaren Jackson Jr. to play huge tonight. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr. I think the Grizzlies came out, in Game 2, being the aggressor, being the physical presence in this game. And Golden State was the physical team here in Game 3. They dominated with physicality. Jaren Jackson Jr., as great of a player as he's been, I need to see him play better. He needs to get some blocks. He needs to protect the rim. He needs to rebound a little bit better. And he just overall needs to score more. It's going to be really tough for this team to shoulder a load here with Ja Morant injured. But they just need to do more, and it's tough when the Warriors shoot 63% from the field and 53% from three-point range. But I think it all comes back to physicality. Whoever is more physical, whoever is the aggressor, seems to be the team that wins that specific game in this series. They're going to need a ton of physicality in this game to make up for the loss of Ja Morant.
Definitely. Getting Dillon Brooks back will help, especially with the physical part.
Yeah. We'll see what happens there if there's an altercation or anything between him and Draymond Green.
Over or under 1.5 ejections for this game tonight.
All right, so any preview predictions or anything you want to make on today's games? First off, we have the Celtics at the Bucks. The Bucks are favored by 1.5 in this game, and it is at home. I'm looking here at the injury report. Robert Williams is out, and Serge Ibaka is out for the Bucks.
I'm going to take Boston to win this game. Again, I think this might be the most evenly matched series out of all the semifinal series. It's really tough to beat Boston twice in a row because of how great they are defensively. Jason Tatum will probably have a better game than he did in Game 3, so I will take another close victory, but I will take Boston in this game.
This is going to be a very, very tough game. I'm looking to see how Jason Tatum bounces back from the previous game. I think if he has a good game, Boston ends up winning this game. But I think this series is kind of very similar to the Grizzlies Golden State series. It's getting physical. Whatever team is more physical, I think will end up winning this game. I'm going to pick Milwaukee here at home. All right, second game of today. Wow, the spread's pretty big on this game.
The spread is huge.
We have Memphis heading to Golden State for Game 4. They are down 2-1 in the series. They desperately need a win here to even it up. It's going to be tricky without Ja Morant, who's listed as day-to-day. The Warriors still have James Wiseman and Andre Iguodala listed as out. The Warriors are favored by 9.5 here at home.
Oh, it just came down. I saw it at 10 earlier.
Wow. If Ja Morant can't go, this is an easy win for the Golden State Warriors. That being said, they won over 20 games this season with him out due to injury. So what are your thoughts here?
I like Golden State to win this game. If I was betting, though, just the fact that it's a double-digit spread in a playoff game is crazy to me. I understand why. Ja Morant has been pretty much everything for Memphis in this series in particular. He's had some of the best games, regular season and postseason, that he had all year long against Golden State. So it's going to be really difficult for them to win on the road without Morant. I'm just betting on the fact that it's not going to be another blowout. So I would put money on the Grizzlies to cover this huge spread, but I think Golden State will win the game.
Yeah. I've got to give a couple shout-outs here. Steven, what's up, dude? Gothin, good to see you. I'm glad you made it here to watch the live. We saw Ivan in here, Techno Peasant, Mike. Thank you guys all for joining us. We're just giving predictions here on today's games. I'm taking Milwaukee. Calvin's taking Boston. And I think we both agree the Golden State Warriors are going to win Game 4 here in Golden State. All right, Calvin. Anything else you want to touch on before we open it up to Q&A?
Man, we covered a lot, so I think we hand the keys over.
One last thing I forgot to say. That half-court shot by John Morant was awesome.
It's pretty cool.
That was awesome. The dude just has such a good swagger to him. That team goes as far as he goes, and unfortunately he's injured, which is what's affecting my predictions here. What's up, Key Kings? Good to see you. And yeah, shout out to Vinny Squatch as well. He's here in the studio. Just a quick update, guys. We're going to be posting a video here on Royal Rebounds in a little bit after we finish this up, talking about the head coaching hire. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Also, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Share this video with all your favorite basketball fans. Let us know down below in the comments what you like about our new bar here on the bottom. And Calvin, let's open it up to Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, any topics, any things you want us to discuss, Calvin's got answers, and I'm here to try and help out. Steven says any one of these 8 teams can win the title.
Yeah. I don't know.
If they're healthy.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right, is we're seeing Kyle Lowry is having issues here in Miami, and they've been struggling. Whatever happens here with John Morant is technically, yes. Whatever happens to John Morant's going to be interesting. It's quite unfortunate, but it is a part of the game. And, if you guys play fantasy football, it's a huge part of that. Injuries, they happen in sports all the time. And unfortunately, they do affect the outcome of many different games here.
And we've certainly seen a lot of them the last couple of years in the NBA and in this playoff run. It's been unfortunate.
Do you think Chris Paul's dealing with any injuries right now?
I know they reported that he's dealing with some finger or hand issue. I think it's his left hand. He had it taped up all the way back in game 2, I think, of this series. At this point, if you've been playing, most of the season and now you're into a deep playoff run, probably over half the roster is dealing with some sort of injury, whether it's a minor one or, there's a reason why all these guys are listed as day-to-day before every single game. Calf strains, hamstrings, hand injuries. So, yeah, I think there's probably a good chance that Chris Paul isn't 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think he's too far away from that, though.
Which series do you think has higher tension after this weekend? Mavs, Suns, or Grizzlies, Warriors?
That's a good question.
Been really physical.
Yeah. I think the Warriors series, it's been going on a little bit longer now. Because you had, right from the beginning, Draymond Green.
Ejection, yeah,
break the code, all of that stuff. So it feels like the tension in that series is getting higher with every game, even though the last game was a blowout. But this Mavs series, you've got family members involved now. People are leading the team through the secret tunnel to go fight each other in the locker room.
How does he know about all these secret tunnels?
I don't know.
The Clippers one makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know how he knows about all that stuff. I'm also not sure that report was 100% accurate. But if it was, then that series is also taking it up, another 3 or 4 notches. So it's kind of a toss-up right now. I think you have to wait to see what happens in games 4 and 5 in those respective series.
I totally agree. All right, quick thoughts here on Kings signing Mike Brown.
I'll just say what I said earlier on the show, in that the biggest takeaway for me from this hiring is that the organization is on the same page and they're letting Monty McNair run the show, which are very, very positive things moving forward for Sacramento. I think Mike Brown is deserving of the job. He's a defensive-minded guy, which the Kings need. So now the question is, can they convert that to the right type of play on the court?
Yep, I couldn't agree more. All I got to say is Coach of the Year and defense. Most important things to me. Should the Grizzlies bench Ja Morant for the remainder of the series to protect him from further injury?
No. I don't think they have a chance to win the series without Morant. So if he can play, he's got to play. I mean, you
got to talk to the doctors.
That's what happens. Well, yeah. I mean, you don't want to. It depends on how hurt he is. You don't want to just put him out there on one leg, basically. But if he can go, he's got to play. This is the playoffs. I mean, we're seeing it with Embiid right now. He's battling through a ton of injuries. Unfortunately, those circumstances come up in playoff runs. And if you're the best player on your team and you're good, you're healthy enough to play, then your team needs you out there.
Yep, I agree. Do you think Jokic was deserving of the MVP award?
Yes, I do. I think Embiid should have finished second over Giannis. That's the only change. I think
they were all
that
deserving.
I would make.
Honestly.
They all were deserving of the award. And I wouldn't have been upset. I wouldn't have been upset if any one of the three of them won it. Certainly if Embiid won it. For most of the season, Embiid was probably my pick. At the end of the regular season, seeing what Jokic did, the numbers that he put up, being the first guy in NBA history to do a lot of things in this regular season, it makes sense to me that he wins the award.
It's such a hard award to really quantify, right? Because is it most invaluable player in the league? Is it most valuable player to your team? Does team success have anything to do with it? Is it just numbers? But I think that all three of the top vote getters in Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic all deserved it or were deserving. But I'm not mad. I think Jokic had an incredible season. I think he pulled his team to the playoffs with not a lot of assistance due to injury, and congratulations. All right. They want to talk about Mike Brown again here, Calvin. Does it help the Kings in the long run, potentially making the playoffs this season? I say yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, the long run and making the playoffs next season are two different things. But I think the answer to both of those questions is yes.
What is Klay Thompson's future with the Golden State Warriors? I saw a hot take. Was it Charles Barkley or who was it that said that they need to move on from Klay Thompson and make Jordan Poole the starting shooting guard?
Sounds like something Charles Barkley would say.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think the Warriors are in a really, really interesting and unique position here in these next couple of off seasons. I mean, you've got, in terms of what his short-term future with the team is, they've got him under contract until the end of the 2023-24 season. He's going to be making an incredible amount of money, him and Steph Curry combined. Next year, he's making over $40 million.
83, almost $84 million over the next two seasons.
And the following year, it's over $43 million that he's owed before he becomes an unrestricted free agent. But like we just said, the Warriors are in a really interesting spot because they can kind of play this one of two ways. They can say, all right, we're going to keep, the core pillars of this team intact and use our young, talented assets as trade bait, basically, to try and get somebody else who is a win-now player on this team and basically, just make a run at a couple more titles for the next 2 to 3 years. Or they can decide to move on from one of these high money guys and one of the stars of the team, i.e. I don't believe it would be Curry, but Curry or Thompson or Draymond, somebody like that, and then insert
Wiggins.
The young guys into the team and hopefully become the next San Antonio Spurs, where they're not good for just the next 2 or 3 years, but they're good for the next 10 years. I'm not really sure which way they're going to go. I mean, the Warriors seem like an incredibly loyal organization. These guys basically brought this franchise out of the ashes to become a dynasty. It would surprise me a lot to see Klay Thompson on another team. I will say that.
Yeah, I think that, basically Jordan Poole needs to be paid. The dude is incredible. I think he needs to be with the Warriors. The question to me is whether Klay Thompson's going to be willing to take a back seat on this team, and I don't see why not. He's getting paid. He's winning championships. He's happy. He likes the Warriors. I don't see any reason for them to move on from him. Unfortunately, it's not like football where you can restructure deals and make things fit. But I think the Warriors will find a way to pay all these guys. Their owner has been more than willing to pay people. They have a lot of young guys in cheap contracts, and they have their veterans. In the NBA, you can use things like bird rights to re-sign guys. So I see Klay Thompson staying with the Warriors, but I think his next contract will be quite interesting, and he could potentially be coming off the bench during that contract.
Yeah, I think that's a realistic possibility.
All right. Does MVP really mean anything anymore? Seems more like beauty pageant trophy. To me, finals MVP means more and winning championships.
Well, of course, winning championships means more. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? But that's a team award. It's not an individual award. I think the biggest difference for me in how the MVP race has changed over the years is the level of talent in the NBA. It just is so much better than it's ever been in the league's history, which makes it that much more difficult every year to determine who is the league's MVP. You know, in the 90s or in the 80s, you would have 2 or 3 guys, you know, maybe 4 to 5 that would have really, really great seasons statistically. Everybody else would just be nothing, pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, you've got at least 2 or 3 guys on every team that put up huge, huge numbers all the time. So it's the level of talent, the overall competition level is at a rate that it's never been at, which means for an award that already is a little bit arbitrary, right? Like people can't really decide what the true meaning of MVP is. It makes it so much more difficult to pick a winner every year.
Yeah. It really is. I think we all agree that championships are important, but the difference is championships are a team award. I'd be interesting to hear what Steph Curry's answer is if you were to ask him what's more important, a finals MVP or an MVP award, because he has an MVP, doesn't have a finals MVP.
2 MVPs.
One of those was unanimous, I think first ever unanimous. And he's got trophies, or championship rings.
I think his answer would be, I don't care about either one of the MVP awards. I care about my 3 rings, my 3 championships.
Yeah. Would Iguodala ever win a regular season MVP award?
Well, he hasn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was incredibly good.
He was.
But yeah,
He was.
Yeah. All right, Gotham's telling bad jokes here, Calvin. Why do single men love to vacation in Hawaii?
I think you should change the wording to they get laid as soon as they get there, not they get a lay. But I like the joke.
Yeah, and actually, a lot of single men do not like vacationing to Hawaii or Maui in general. Maui is known as, newlyweds
and nearly deads.
So it's brand new couples that are on their honeymoon, and you know how many drinks I've won sitting at a bar? Like, I bet you guys just got married, huh? And they're like, how did you know? I'm like, oh, I could tell. And then a lot of old people. I do have to say, though, I was watching Forgetting Sarah Marshall last night, one of my favorite movies. He was a single man traveling to Hawaii, ran into his ex-girlfriend. So I guess my answer to your question would be because they're sad.
Oahu is a different animal, though.
Trying to move on, trying to heal. I don't really know. All right. I know it's playoffs, but I'm so ready for next year. I mean, many Kings fans are. I'm ready for next year, but I'm trying to live life in the moment, enjoy the playoffs while I can. And yes, we will be doing a live stream on May 17th. Make sure you guys tune in for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Calvin's going to be DJing here.
Wow.
And
that's a tough question,
Kings.
It's
going to be a party. Joe Lacob said they are trying to go the Spurs route. I mean, he's saying all the right things. He does the right things. I wouldn't blame him for wanting to do that. In the last 10 years of the NBA, which year would you guys consider had the most entertaining playoffs?
I don't know if I can answer that question off the top of my head. I'd have to look back and think about it more.
Yeah, I don't know if
10 years is a long time.
If I could say exactly which had the most, I mean, if I were to look at like finals, it'd probably be the year that LeBron came back, right? That was down 3-1, came back to win the title over the Warriors. We also saw a 3-1, Warriors over the Thunder before that. as far as playoff series, it might have been 11 years now, or I don't know. But that Bulls-Celtics series.
That was pretty fun.
Was that first round, right?
It was like
first
Glenn
round. Baby Davis, Ben Gordon, Derrick Rose. Was that his first or second year in the league?
I believe that was his.
Charlie Villanueva, I think, was playing on that squad. Anyways, I think it was like
there's been a
4
bunch
out of those
great
games
ones.
went to overtime. That was an incredible series.
I always think back to, I don't actually know if this was within the last 10 years, but LeBron's series where he single-handedly took down the Pistons.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was more than 10 years ago. 2007.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that game where he scores the last 25 points in the fourth quarter in overtime, that's one of the playoff moments that sticks out in my head the most. Also, that Chicago Bulls against the Miami Heat series where Derrick Rose wins game 1.
Yep.
I think that was the year he won MVP.
LeBron hits the game winner.
Yep.
I remember I was in the airport. I think you and I were both in the airport during that series.
Might have been.
And LeBron goes, yeah, I got mine too, or something like that.
Yeah, that was great. I think that was also more than 10 years ago, though. That was 2011, 2012 season. I think it was the year Rose won the MVP, so.
Yeah. They need to give the MVP award out on the last day of the regular season.
I like that.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. The longer they wait, the more controversy it creates.
Yeah, and skewed the voting is. Yeah. I don't understand why they wait. It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, what if you had the best regular season of all time, and then you absolutely stink in the playoffs, get eliminated, and then they give you the award? It's like Jokic, they waited till he got eliminated. He played really well, but they waited till he got eliminated to present him the trophy later on when he's not even in the playoffs. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, I think they were going to announce the winner of this award regardless of whether or not he was still in. I mean, we've seen guys in the playoffs get presented their awards. It just MVP is one of the last ones they give out, and so you have to make it pretty far in the playoffs in order to get that presented to you.
I think maybe what they need to do is maybe after the play-in tournament is over, they need to just have an award ceremony and give out all the awards. The only thing I could think of that maybe they could wait on is maybe Coach of the Year, and maybe they include Coach of the Year as a postseason award as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So hard to determine who is the MVP. You can make a case for 5 guys. Yeah, you can. It is tough. MVP does not mean nothing. We just don't know what it means. I highly doubt that Jokic is flashing his trophy around. Oh, it's probably on a nice trophy rack in his house. That's where mine would be. Every time you ask for questions, all I think of is silly joke questions. Yeah, that's fine,
we love
dude.
the jokes, Scott. We love them.
We love jokes. We love questions. Keep them coming. Ooh, 2011 when the Mavericks won the title. That was also interesting. I remember I was in the gym watching the first round series against the Lakers, and Andrew Bynum took his jersey off and was so pissed. That was a great year.
Pretty amazing. I still can't believe they beat Kobe, Tim Duncan, and LeBron.
Yeah.
That same playoff stretch.
Incredible. And D-Wade. 2019 when the Raptors won, that was also entertaining. Favorite playoff series was 2006 Suns versus Lakers, and Kobe hit game-winning shot and rips his jersey. Suns come back down 3-1 to win.
That was a great series as well.
Yeah, I agree.
There's been
so
a ton
many.
of them.
There's so many. My favorite all-time playoff series is Houston's last 2 titles. I remember a couple great Houston series against the Lakers when they had Ron Artest. Those were very exciting to watch as well. When Jordan was playing baseball. All right. Steven is a Rockets fan. Okay. You guys both lived in Houston? That's cool. All right. Regardless of what you thought about that weird Memphis weatherman who went after Dre, Had you guys ever heard knuckled dragons used as a racial slur?
Draggers.
I have no
Knuckle
idea what
draggers.
that. Oh, I don't know.
I feel like I have heard that at some point, but I don't really know where and I didn't see this Memphis weatherman at all, so I don't know what that is about, but I'm assuming he used that term on the air. I don't know.
Idiots. We don't condone any of that shit here. Do you guys see Phoenix re-signing Ayton for the max?
Tough call. I mean, I think they should. If I was in that front office, I would definitely be pushing for that. I'd be all in on that, but we'll see. You know, Robert Sarver, the Suns owner, is traditionally a guy who doesn't like to spend a ton of money or be a very high over the salary cap, paying luxury tax and all that stuff. So he's ultimately the guy that signs the check. We'll find out.
Yeah, I think it depends on what other teams offer him. I think Kings need to be in there. I think some of these other teams, maybe Charlotte is in there trying to offer him a deal. They need a center.
If he is rumored to be even the slightest bit available, there's going to be a lot of teams that I think that will try and go after him.
Phoenix needs to match him. They really do. It's just whether they're willing to or not is the question. All right. Let's see here. How have you felt about the officiating across the various series? I think this is just an overall question as far as officiating this year in the playoffs. Anything different? Anything you like or dislike?
I mean, there's always questionable calls. We talked about it earlier on the show. That technical foul on Devin Booker the other day I thought was ridiculous. I've seen a few other technical fouls that I didn't really think were valid. Generally speaking, the intensity level, the defensive physicality level goes way up in the postseason, and it's officiated differently than the regular season. I don't think there's any secret to that. So officiated differently in the terms of they let more stuff go in the playoffs. It's more of an intense, grinded out style. Players definitely play differently in the postseason than they do in the regular season as well. So I don't know. I mean, people are always going to make stories out of officiating and this call cost a team a game, all that stuff, whether it's postseason or regular season. I haven't seen anything that I thought was absurd, at this point.
I just hate that they continuously stop the game and they're like, we need to review this
that's
to see
definitely one thing that
if
I don't
it's
like
a flagrant one or two and
Right.
all that. It's just too much going on. It slows the game down.
it slows it down a ton.
Takes it a lot longer for us to watch these games. I would think something similar to what the NFL does in terms of having somebody in the booth that can make that decision, that's watching those, and can just call down to them and be like, yes, it's this or that. But then you get in this situation of like our teams or the NBA rigging games, and it's taking it out of control.
And that's still stopping the play.
Yeah.
If you have to go to Secaucus or whatever it is to get the official word.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everything's fine. I just think that the league's getting a little bit softer, and not that that's a bad thing. They're trying to protect the players because they want more high-scoring games and they want the stars out there all the time, and I get it. It's just there needs to be some way to not just completely halt the game and be like, okay, another timeout. I really only realize it, Calvin, because when I'm in the game and I'm watching it, I'm so into it, it doesn't bother me that much. But when I'm like, oh, I need to switch the laundry at the end of this quarter, or, my girlfriend's like, let's go at halftime, and I'm like, okay, it's only 5 minutes. And then it just drags on with like another break and another pause and a review. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this 5 minutes took like 30 minutes to get through. That's when I really notice it. So what do you guys think Zion Williamson? He keeps getting hurt. What do you guys think about Zion Williamson?
According to him, he's ready to go. He's ready to play.
Great player, a lot of potential. Unfortunately, he's in a place with really good food, which is probably not productive in terms of his body type.
Yeah, well, it's just an interesting situation because he's saying that he's healthy enough to play, and the team is urging caution against that. So they need to get on the same page. And
yeah, it's like the
opposite
of Kawhi Leonard.
It goes without saying they need him on the court. Like they want him to be a part of their future. They're excited about what that team could look like potentially with him on the floor with Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. So both parties should be moving in the direction of we got to get this guy playing again.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost the opposite situation of Kawhi Leonard, where the team's like, you're fine, and he's like, no, I'm not fine. So it's weird.
There you go, Ivan.
It is weird. Should the NBA add another referee on the court to help miss calls?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on that, I guess, just from my first impression. I think it would definitely help, obviously, to have another set of eyes. You know, you will have a fourth guy out there that could potentially see something the other three don't, or two guys or whatever. But space is kind of limited. I don't, I'd be a little interested to see how that would work with 4 guys and 10 players out there. Yeah. You might have more instances like the NFL does where guys be running into officials. And so it's an interesting idea, though, for sure.
They need to move back the sideline cameramen, the guys under the basket, and the fans next to the court. Those they need to move back because it's just so close. And then maybe there'll be room for another referee. But Calvin's right. There's a lot going on the court. You're always going to miss stuff, and having an extra guy out there just creates more opportunities to get in the way. All right. Help me understand this. Is the play-in tournament counted as regular season games, or does it count as postseason? Neither.
It counts as neither. It doesn't count towards either one. It's just like Gotham says here, it's a separate tournament.
Yeah. It's kind of a black hole of
it's
stats.
NBA purgatory.
Yeah,
it basically is what it is.
LeBron would be the leader in play-in tournament stats if he had been available to play in any of these games like he is in the playoffs, because he just plays in so many of them. But he never plays in the play-in because it just started, and he's never, I don't know, a 7 or 8
it's weird. I don't like to play in tournament personally, but.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap up the show here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to hang out here with us. Please don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video with all your favorite NBA fans. We will be here tomorrow with some more exciting action. Hopefully you guys are able to catch the games today. And also, real quick, we are going to be posting a video on Royal Rebounds here shortly. It won't be live, but it will be Calvin and I's kind of thoughts on the Mike Brown hiring in Sacramento. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Make sure you close out your bar tabs. And as always, don't forget to tip your bartender.